Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
So Extreme Rules is fast approaching, and pretty soon the pay-per-view that follows the granddaddy of them all will be upon us. Let's have a look at the match card and allow me to present to you my views on it. This is in no particular order, so with that being said, let's start off with the pre-show. The Miz versus Cody Rhodes. The Miz, who made his return on Monday Night Raw from filming his straight-to-DVD film, I have no idea what it's called because I don't care. He'll take on Cody Rhodes, who seems to be doing nothing as of note lately asides jobbing. There's no storyline build up to this, as it was announced on Monday Night Raw, like John Cena mimics Ryback's heavy breathing. Oh, by the way, The Miz will take on Cody Rhodes on the Extreme Rules pre-show. Oh look, Primetime Players won. Millions of dollars. Yeah, it actually went like that. So I expect a Miz victory here, probably from Cody tapping out to the figure 4. This is really just a throwaway match and there's nothing on the line for either of them, so I don't think it'll be that interesting. Randy Orton versus Big Show, Extreme Rules match. Another match I couldn't care less about, nothing really to do with who is involved, but more to do with the basis of their feud. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's over the fact that Big Show punched Randy after their tag match against the Shield was over, because Randy and Sheamus kept tagging each other in and out the match and essentially ignored Big Show throughout, as they didn't trust the Big Show and were worried that he might turn on them and attack him or something. Well, gee golly, Randy, I think you need to look up the meaning of a self-fulfilling prophecy. As for the match itself, I'm seeing a Randy Orton victory after an RKO from out of nowhere. I'm not sure about future storylines for either of these characters, but it's not looking to be interesting. Sheamus versus Mark Henry in a strap match. This is my hidden gem. I'm thinking that this will be the standout match of the night, or at least a very good match. Mark Henry's trash talking has been epic as of late.
Tell me a joke! Oh! Whoop you like you stole something, boy! Oh, God! Wow!
His demonstration of how you win a strap match on Josh Matthews was hilarious and just shows how vicious he can be. However, I'm feeling like all of this is just set up for Sheamus to display his strength when he drags Mark Henry's body around 4 corners, and then you'll hear Michael Cole getting excited on commentary going, "Oh my God, that is 400 pounds. He is literally dragging him around the ring. Literally." While people like me are just staring at the screen like, shut up, Cole. I would have said that as soon as they announced the match, it's clearly a Sheamus win. But after Mark Henry beating the Ryback at WrestleMania, I now have doubts. I feel the finish will be something like Sheamus bro kicks Mark Henry and then proceeds to drag him around 3 corners and then come close to the final one, but at this point Mark Henry stirs and then gets up. The match continues and Mark Henry performs his world's strongest slam or something like that and drags Sheamus and win. Hopefully this then propels him to be involved in the WWE title scene like he should have been after he beat the Ryback at WrestleMania, which confuses me, but it brings me on to my next match. John Cena versus Ryback, last man standing. Ryback. All those pay-per-view losses has hurt his credibility to be a serious threat. He's had 2 title match chances, both of which I feel were undeserved. And the first, I felt that the moment The Rock announced that he would be facing the WWE Champion at the Royal Rumble, that there was no way that it'd be The Rock versus the Ryback, as it just didn't seem as big as a draw as The Rock versus CM Punk, or even The Rock versus John Cena for the second time. So now that the Ryback has his second opportunity for the title against John Cena, do I think he had a chance? I really don't know. I think the original intention was to either have The Rock drop the belt to Cena at Extreme Rules, or to have The Rock invoke his rematch clause and then lose yet again to Cena, but injury cut that angle short, so the Ryback has now been thrust yet again into the title picture a little too early, even turned heel in the process, which I don't really agree was the right decision, but there you go. I don't think the Ryback is a bad heel or anything, and people saying that he's awful are just hating on him without solid justification, as I felt some of the heel promos he's done had been great, especially the promos with Mick Foley, where he was menacing and yet he had valid points. So it wasn't like he was being ignorant and stupid. It's clearly a case of attacking the man and not the point when it comes to the hatred of Ryback. As for the match itself, it's a last man standing match, which I think will be interesting because I think the Ryback will take the brute force approach where he'll just beat the hell out of John Cena and stand over him in an effort to show that he's superior. I think every time John Cena gets up, the Ryback will simply just beat him down with shell shocks, meat hook clotheslines, maybe even weapons like chairs, ladders and tables thrown in, and just carry on beating him down. John Cena, however, I feel will show his never give up attitude and will ultimately win the match, but there is no way that John Cena will force the Ryback to stay down for the 10 count on his own power or anything like that. So I feel John Cena will resort to perhaps burying him under a whole load of chairs, tables, announce tables, that sort of stuff, so that the Ryback can't get up or move from it. I'd say duct tape 2, but they've already used that finisher with the last man standing match, but this is WWE, you never know. Either way, it will be a victory where they try and portray John Cena as cunning and a genius along the lines of Alberto Einstein for beating the Ryback and keeping him down, and so continues Cena's year-long title reign. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar, steel cage. The match that nobody really wanted. However, I'm not gonna lie, the last Raw did go some ways in restoring a bit of interest in the match, especially when Hunter Hearst Helmsley commented on Paul Heyman's client,
Brock Lesnar,
feeling like he's the baddest man around, and yet Heyman himself doesn't really believe that.
See, I can look at Brock and I can tell Brock Lesnar still believes inside him that he is the baddest man standing in this room. The problem is, Paul, you don't think that's true anymore, do you?
And I felt that was interesting because I know he was simply just trying to goad him into getting into the cage with him, but I was like, okay, this could go somewhere.
Brock, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna walk down that aisle and step into this ring and try to prove to the world that you are Brock Lesnar, the Beast? Or are you just gonna stand up at the top of that ramp looking for Heyman tell you what to do and prove to the world that you are Brock Lesnar, the bitch?
Wow.
Oh no, he didn't. Brock, my boy, you just got goaded there. There was no way you could walk away after that, and it led to a nice altercation with the two. As for the match itself, I think he'll have to go above and beyond to show us something that we haven't seen before from the last two matches, but I'm thinking that there may be a fair bit of blood here. I mean, I know it's not PG, but without blood, then it makes Heyman's initial comment about how it's time to get old school and extreme and downright dirty, it just makes that point pointless. I also think that
Brock Lesnar
will win, but this is more to do with the fact that he has to, otherwise I'm looking at this big massive contract that he signed with high pay and limited appearances, and I'm thinking it's going to be a waste if you have him lose, because then you can't really be taken as a credible threat with a record of 1 win to 3 losses since returning. But you see, that's just logic talking here. I actually have no idea how Triple H's mind works and what his ego will do, but I'm going to stick with a
Brock Lesnar.
Win. Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger in an I Quit Contenders match. The match I was actually the most looking forward to. That is when it was a triple threat ladders match. Now it's an I Quit match, which for all intent and purposes will essentially boil down to a submission match where instead of tapping out, Jack Swagger will say, "I quit." I say Jack Swagger because until he visibly gets punished for a DUI, I really am never sure how far he'll go or if he'll win anything before then. Another reason I'm going with an Alberto Del Rio win from a cross arm breaker is that it'll end up being a face versus heel confrontation with Dolph Ziggler, which makes more sense than a heel versus heel matchup with Swagger and Ziggler. Personally, I would have had Ziggler or someone named Big E Langston as an interim champion and go ahead with the ladder match as planned, but have Big E Langston successfully defend it. And then you have a plethora of avenues to explore from there, like have Big E Langston give back the belt and say nothing more about it, but he could be growing resentful about having to give the belt back and the protection that he provides Dolph Ziggler. You could have him refuse to hand the belt back and have a feud between Ziggler and Langston, with either people being able to be the face or the heel in this particular scenario. I can only imagine that the reason why this wasn't taken was because the officials must have thought that Big E Langston was too green or whatever. But if the Ryback can get a WWE title shot after crushing jobbers, why can't the Ryback defend Ziggler's title and make him champion, but not really the champion? Kofi Kingston versus Dean Ambrose, US title match. Well, this sort of came out of nowhere. I'd like to think that they are giving Kofi a push by giving him the belt, but yeah, I don't think, or rather I hope WWE do not waste the Shield's current momentum and that they give them belts to hang on to right now so that they can take it to the next level rather than growing stale and directionless. Kofi Kingston and Dean Ambrose should put on an interesting match, and I'm gonna say the Dean Ambrose win with a help from his Shield buddies who will run interference. For me, Antonio Cesaro has already brought a lot of it back, but hopefully Dean Ambrose can bring a lot more prestige back into the United States Championship. Chris Jericho versus Fandango. I think it's pronounced that. You have to let the A's breathe, apparently. Chris Jericho and Dolph Ziggler feuding just seemed right, as Ziggler was getting prepared to go for a World Heavyweight title run, and their clash just seemed a lot more interesting than Fandango and his dancing shtick. Personally, if Chris Jericho isn't going to be given one last run as a champion or something, in fact, I'd rather he feuded with Wade Barrett, if only to bring back prestige to the Intercontinental Championship, and at the same time try and get Barrett over, because right now Barrett is doing jack. He even lost to Sin Cara on Main Event last Wednesday, but alas, we're stuck with this travesty of a matchup. After their match at WrestleMania, which I didn't think was anything special, I think they'll put on a better match, but it's like saying getting your arm chopped off is better than getting your leg chopped off. It's still going to be bad. I see Chris Jericho getting the win by getting Fandango to tap out with the Walls of Jericho or something, but Fandango will probably give him a beatdown after the match, and then it will possibly lead to a match on Raw where he'll get the win back, a bit like what they did with the Ziggler feud. I also wanted to mention how awesome it was when Y2J gave a callback to his time as the musical chairs champion, and how he won Price's Raw, and how he outsmarted Bob Barker. See, that was funny. Team Hell No versus The Shield, Texas Tornado tag match. As I mentioned earlier about the Shield's momentum, I'm going to add another point, and that is, it's either going to be a clean sweep or they'll win nothing. I can see the storyline potential in one match ending in a win and the other match a loss. However, it can only lead to the Shield falling apart and breaking up, and I don't think that's the route they want to take just yet. so therefore it's going to be a Shield win here, and they'll do what the Rose Scholars should have done at the Royal Rumble. So what next for Team Hell No? I wouldn't have them split up just yet, if only just to have more serious competitors in the tag team division that can pose a legitimate threat to the Shield. The Usos seem to be getting some push, what with their appearances as of late, but I don't think that's enough. I think more serious tag teams are needed if you are going to give Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins a credible title reign, as fighting off tons of Funk, 3MB, Primo and Epico, and to some extent the primetime players isn't really going to cut it. That's it for my Extreme Rules predictions. Just before I finish, I'll make some quick other predictions as well. Question: when will the Spanish announce a table break? Answer: probably in the Tornado tag match, with the Shield performing some move to Kane or Bryan Danielson through it. Question: will Christian return? Answer: no. Question: will CM Punk return? Answer: no, it's still a little bit too early for that. Maybe we still have to wait because Payback is going to be in Chicago, so there's something there, but for now, still a bit too early. Question: how many times will the WWE app be mentioned? Answer: 24 times. Anyway, that is all for this entry. Hopefully Extreme Rules will be exciting, but until then, that's what I do.